Mental health has become one of the biggest problems worldwide. Many people all over the globe suffer from depression, anxiety, and other mental health related issues. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 ways to improve your mental health. And these are things that you can begin to do immediately. The first way of improving your mental health is to tame your inner critic. As a psychotherapist, I realize that many of the people who come to see me for help who are depressed have this very negative voice inside that say things like you will never get better, or life is just hopeless, or I am so stupid. And as long as you have those negative voices operating within you, mental illness will have a fertile breeding ground to grow and thrive. So begin to attend to that inner critic, that inner voice. So here is some of the things that you can begin to do. Is number 1, begin to challenge your negative thinking. So if that voice comes in that say you are stupid, think about the many things that you have achieved, or accomplishments that you have, or positive things that other people have said about you. Or even if it's related to that one incident, tell yourself that just because I have failed at this doesn't make me stupid, or just because I have made this mistake in this present thing that I am doing doesn't amount to me being stupid. So there are several ways that you can begin to challenge those negative voices, whatever it is. If you are so stuck in pessimistic thinking or negative thinking, as some of my clients often are, another thing that you can do is ask an objective third party how they may think about the current situation that you are faced with. Interestingly, a study that was done that followed students from they were in elementary school to their adult life in their 30s found that students who had negative self-talk at 11 years old still had negative self-talk later on in life. And not only that, but many of these students failed to follow through with their goals later on in life. So that's not surprising, because if you have a negative voice in you that's telling you that you will never amount to anything, or that anything that you do will fail, it's not surprising then that you would not try. And then it just creates this downward spiral, because you know these dreams and these goals that you have, and that inner voice is like a wall that's preventing you from going forward. So you end up being depressed, you end up being anxious, and you end up feeling like a failure. So challenge that negative voice. The second thing that you can begin to do right away is to practice therapeutic writing. Depression and anxiety and other mental illnesses are often just symptoms of underlying issues that are affecting your life. For example, you may have been abandoned as a child. You may have been betrayed by a lover. Maybe you have been you have been unfairly treated at work, and you have never really dealt with such an issue. So if you have these issues in the background, these issues are like viruses in the background of a computer that's affecting the performance of the computer. And so the computer is showing symptoms. But the issue is not what you're seeing on the screen of the computer. It's the issues that are happening in the background. Mental illnesses are like that. So begin to practice therapeutic writing about the things that have negatively impacted your life. If you have been betrayed by a lover, begin to think about, to write about that person, who was involved, what this person did to you, and how it made you feel. And you may be thinking to yourself, why do I want to dwell on such negative thinking? Well, interestingly, studies show that people who practice therapeutic writing that they are more likely to get over the things that have negatively impacted their life. You see, as you begin to write and to process what's going on, you are letting go of those emotions by getting in touch with your feelings. If you would like to get a good example of what therapeutic writing look like, then I think Psalm 55 is a very good example of this. In the Psalm, we see David writing about what happened. He was betrayed by a friend. We see him talking about how it made him feel. He said, I feel like I wish I had wings like a dove, that I would fly away and be at rest, far from the tempest and storm. But David also got in touch with other emotions when he said, fear and the trembling have come upon me. And so he's talking about the emotions that he's having. And I think that this kind of writings that we find in the Bible are behind why many of the men of God of old were not overwhelmed with all the problems that they had in their lives, because by writing like this, they were actually doing something that was very effective and very therapeutic. So you can do the same, begin to practice therapeutic writing. And the third thing that I think is very important for you to do to overcome your mental illness is to avoid loneliness. Studies that have been done by the National Institute of Aging said that loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So many of you listening to this would say, I would not smoke. I would want to put that cancer into my lungs. But if you are being lonely, you are having the same effect as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And by loneliness, I'm talking about being isolated, not having connection with others. We were not made to be isolated. In the Garden of Eden, when God created Adam, he said, it is not good for the man to be alone. And I think that same principle abides today. It is not good for you to be alone. So seek out community. Volunteer with an organization, invite a friend out for a coffee, call up family members. Whatever you do, seek out attachment to others, because by so doing, you are getting rid of the signal that your body is sending to your brain that you are sick. You see, we are created in such a way that when we are sick, we go into isolation, and that's automatically done for the survival of this human species. So if you do that, it's like you're sending a signal to your body that I am sick. And so if you're isolating, that signal goes to your brain that you're sick, your body begins to secrete neurochemicals that indicate that you're sick. And it's no wonder that you end up being depressed, because even though you're not sick physically, your body is getting a signal that there is something wrong. And so this isolation leads to depression. So get outside, meet people, and engage with life. And you will find that this will have a tremendous impact on improving your mental health. Fourth thing that you can begin to do right away is to become physically active. Again, like loneliness, being physically inactive sends a signal to your body that you are not well, that something is wrong. And so as you do that, you begin to become more stressed. And when you become stressed, your body secretes hormone that tells your body that you should put on weight, because you see our ancestors, when they were stressed by hard winters or cold, they would isolate, they would lock in, and as they lock in from the cold of the climate, or because there was famine, their body got this message, I need to store fat. And so your body begins to store fat in response to you being inactive and isolated. So begin to become physically active, because as you are physically active, you are sending the opposite signal to your body that I am well, that it is not a harsh, cold winter, and that there is not famine. And as you begin to do that, you begin to burn calories, you begin to feel more alert and alive. But even more than that, your body secretes this hormone that's called endorphin, which is like the body's own feel-good hormone. And this is why we hear a runner's high. Runners actually, by running, doing marathons, they get to this point where they get this high where they're not feeling pain anymore. They're in this stage of exhilaration where they feel as if they could keep going forever and just keep running and running and running. And if you have ever done a 10K or a marathon, you know what I'm talking about, because you get to this point where eventually you feel as if you just can't keep going. But eventually something kicks in and you feel like you could run forever. But you don't have to be a marathon runner or to run a 10K to have the benefits of endorphins. Your body can secrete enough endorphin to help you to begin to feel good and to begin to feel more positive about your life by going for a brisk walk 3 to 4 times a week for 30 minutes each time. And as you begin to do that, this accumulates over time. You begin to get the benefits of endorphin. And the fifth way to improve your mental health is to practice mindfulness and visualization. You see, our life has become so busy that we don't have time to relax and to engage and to just engage with the present. We are either worried about the past or we are worried about the future. But we are never in this state. We are thinking about just being here and now. And mindfulness exercise is a way to take your body and your mind out of that fight or flight state that is behind many mental illnesses. And so if you're always thinking about the future and you're worried about what's going to happen next year, is there going to be a next pandemic, or you're worried about the past, there's something that I regret that I didn't do 10 years ago, and these things are always percolating in your subconscious, then you never have the ability to be totally relaxed. And so mindfulness exercise can be as simple as sitting quietly in a chair and begin to just be aware of the sensation. Can you feel your feet on the ground? Can you feel your elbows on the arm of that chair? Can you feel your back resting against the chair? If you wear glasses, can you feel that glasses on your face? And so this is just sending a signal to your body that you're in the present, you're not in the future, you're not in the past. And research has shown that by practice mindfulness and visualization, that there is tremendous benefits. It actually changes the structure of your brain over time as you begin to do that. There's research done where they monitored the amygdala, that part of the brain that deals with fight or flight. And what they found, researchers found, is that the people that were practicing mindfulness and visualization compared to other group actually had changes, less activities in their amygdala, showing that that part of their brain had responded positively to meditation, to mindfulness and visualization. And so let me just say a little bit about visualization. So visualization involves, similar to mindfulness, sitting quietly, but now instead of just being aware of what you're feeling, begin to think about being in the most peaceful place that you could ever be. Maybe it's on a vacation that you have been where you were by the water and it was so beautiful and there were palm trees in the background and things were just so scenic and beautiful. Sit quietly and begin to think about the things that you would see with your eyes closed. What are some of the things that you can imagine seeing if you're in that place? What are some of the things you can imagine hearing if you were in that beautiful place of yours? What are some of the things that you might feel, that you might smell? So if you notice, I'm engaged in the 5 senses. So even to the point where you can think of, you're on this chair looking out over the ocean and someone brings you your favorite drink. Can you take one sip of that? What does that feel like? Remarkably, as you begin to do that, you will begin to feel as if you're actually in that place. Many of my clients who have done this exercise would say they feel relaxed, they feel so much at peace, and people who came in feeling anxious about events and trauma that have entered their life reports almost 100% of the time that they have a positive benefit from mindfulness and visualization. So there you have it, 5 things that you can begin to do right now that can change the state of your mental health. Feel free to leave a comment below to let us know your thoughts about this video. Also remember to spread this word to others so that they too can benefit from what you have heard. And if you would like to be notified of other videos like that, remember to hit that bell and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening.